Khamzat Chimaev is moving to the UFC's middleweight division to fight Paulo Costa at the end of 2021. At least that's what I'm speculating. I don't know for sure who Khamzat Chimaev is going to be fighting in his middleweight debut. I know he already fought Gerald Meerschaert and starched him under 30 seconds of round number 1, but he hasn't fought in middleweight for quite a while, and is due for another fight in the middleweight division, as he just missed weight by 7.5 pounds to fight Nate Diaz in the main event of UFC 279. So it's good to see Khamzat knows that he's probably not going to make the weight too many times in his career in the welterweight division, and is deciding to move up to the middleweight division. And we know Paulo Costa is calling him out. We know Robert Whittaker is a potential fight, but we know Khamzat does not want the smoke, considering the takedown defense of Robert Whittaker, and he came out there publicly and said, "I do not want to fight Robert Whittaker. I am a fan of Robert Whittaker, and I'd rather train with Robert Whittaker." So Khamzat officially moving to the 185-pound division via his Instagram, most likely to fight Paulo Costa. At least that is what I'm thinking right there. So who do y'all think he's going to fight? I think it's Paulo. Could be Robert Whittaker, but they could just throw everything out of whack. Alex Pereira goes out there, knocks out Israel Adesanya. There could be a wild card matchup of Alex Pereira and Khamzat Chimaev in the middleweight division. There's so many different matchups to be made. You can do Marvin Vettori, Khamzat Chimaev. That is two guys that just have crazy personalities against each other. But Paulo would be the same thing. Israel Adesanya would be the exact same thing. So there's a lot of good things to be made with Khamzat Chimaev in the middleweight division. It's just who, when, where, how are they going to make it happen? How are they going to get Paulo Costa to fight Khamzat? How is Khamzat going to get, or how is the UFC going to get Khamzat to fight Paulo? And is it going to be a main event pay-per-view or just main event of a fight night? We shall see. What do y'all think about Khamzat moving to the middleweight division? And speaking of the middleweights, we got Israel Adesanya as well as Alex Pereira at UFC 281 in the main event. My early prediction for that fight is going to be Alex Pereira to win that one by a decision. So there's a chance by the end of 2023, mid-2023, if Khamzat Chimaev can go out there and beat Paulo Costa, that'll put him right in line for a potential title shot versus the winner of Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. I do think that's going to be Alex Pereira, and if that is the case, you might see Robert Whittaker fight Alex Pereira before Khamzat Chimaev, but I don't even know what's going to happen. Just say, for example, Alex Pereira goes out there, knocks out Israel Adesanya round number 1. The UFC puts Robert Whittaker, Alex Pereira together. They got Khamzat versus Paulo Costa together. Khamzat wins. Then he fights Israel Adesanya. He wins that one. Then he fights the winner of Alex Pereira, Robert Whittaker. There's so many crazy things that are possible here in the middleweight division, because obviously there's a matchup to be made for Khamzat, which is Paulo Costa. But what happens between the winners and the losers of Adesanya versus Pereira? What happens to Marvin Vettori as he's coming off a loss to Robert Whittaker? Who does Robert Whittaker fight? Because Khamzat doesn't want to fight him. Robert Whittaker's already beat Marvin Vettori. He's already beaten most of the guys in the middleweight division. I'm very curious to see what happens after UFC 281 and after the man Khamzat and Paulo Costa usually and most likely will fight inside of the UFC by the end of 2022, because today is currently September 23rd. Adesanya versus Pereira is happening on November 12th. I'm assuming Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa most likely is going to probably be on the UFC 282 pay-per-view 5-round co-main events, something like that. Because I'm looking right now, UFC 282 right after Brunson Hermanson, the fight card that does not have a name on it, and then UFC 281, Adesanya versus Pereira. We got UFC 282, which at the moment does not have a main event. And guess what? Guess who else is on the card? Darren freaking Till. So we got UFC 281, Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Then we could put Khamzat Chimaev and Paulo Costa as the main event of UFC 282, with Darren Till, Drigo du Plessis as the co-main event of that card. We got the Smash Bros on the same exact card, looking to get victories in the middleweight division. I love to see it happen, but I don't know, again, if Khamzat's going to go out and fight Paulo Costa, is it going to be the main event of a fight night? Is it going to be the co-main event right under Adesanya Pereira? What is it going to be between Paulo and Khamzat Chimaev? If it's a co-main event on a pay-per-view, do they make it 3 rounds? Do they make it 5 rounds? Just some things to definitely think about with Khamzat Chimaev and Paulo Costa in the middleweight division. And as of right now, I think, I'm going to be dead honest with you, I think if Khamzat Chimaev wins, he's got a dead serious shot at facing the winner of Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya, only if that winner is Israel Adesanya. If the winner is Israel, he would have beat number 1, Robert Whittaker. He would have beat Jared Cannonier. He would beat Marvin Vettori, beat Alex Pereira at UFC 281, beat Derek Brunson, beat Paulo Costa. Sean Strickland's coming off a loss. Jack Hermanson already lost to Sean Strickland. Darren Till, who already lost to who? I mean, freaking Derek Brunson right there. Andre Muniz is there. But if the man, the myth, the legend, Khamzat can beat Paulo Costa, that leaves nobody for Adesanya. Literally nobody but Khamzat Chimaev. So Khamzat probably could be next in line for the winner of Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, if he can go out there in dominant fashion and smash Paulo Costa round 1 or round 2. I can totally see him going out there and getting a title shot with a simple win over Paulo Costa that could be good enough to get him a shot at the UFC middleweight crown. And if he beats Israel Adesanya and can show the UFC he is able to cut down to the UFC's welterweight limit of 170 pounds, double champ, I don't know. Khamzat could be the second ever simultaneous. I mean, we got Daniel Cormier, but that one didn't really count. Henry Cejudo was kind of like the vacant situation and things like that. Khamzat could be like the 3rd or 4th double champion in UFC history and the first guy to be double champion in the middleweight and welterweight division. We've only seen lightweight and featherweight. We've only seen flyweight and bantamweight, light heavyweight and heavyweight. We've never seen a middleweight and welterweight simultaneous champion. We have seen, well, George St. Pierre be the champion of both divisions, but not at the same time as he did retire. So I'm very curious to see what happens. Khamzat versus Paulo Costa. Now that he's in the middleweight division, if Adesanya beats Pereira, he fights Khamzat. If Pereira beats Adesanya, give him the Robert Whittaker, and Khamzat will fight Adesanya anyway. I think either way, Khamzat's going to fight Adesanya. And then we got one more thing. We've been talking about this middleweight division, but we have one of the greatest middleweights of all time that's going over to boxing to face Jake Paul over there in, I believe, October, like 20th, something around that range. But he's going to be boxing Jake Paul. He said after that, he's going to do a jiu-jitsu match against who? I don't know, maybe Nate Diaz, now that he's a free agent. And then he wants his final fight to be an MMA fight in Japan. But guess what? Scott Coker, the Bellator owner and promoter, is saying he is trying to make Anderson Silva versus Fedor Emelianenko. You heard me correctly. The middleweight champion of the world of the UFC, former, versus one of the best heavyweights of all time, the greatest fighter outside of the UFC, Fedor Emelianenko, who is a natural heavyweight fighter, versus Anderson Silva. I kid you not, Scott Coker is literally looking at making Anderson Silva versus Fedor Emelianenko. This is crazy. This is some crazy news in the middleweight, light heavyweight division. I mean, I don't know what weight class this fight would ever happen in, because again, Fedor just knocked out, who did he knock out? Tim Johnson, I think, Timothy Johnson over there in Bellator. Anderson Silva just be a former world champion or something like that. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I don't know. I mean, what weight class are they going to do? Because obviously Silva is no gosh dang heavyweight, and Fedor is no gosh dang middleweight. So I don't know what they're thinking about that one, but literally Bellator is looking to make Silva versus Fedor Emelianenko as a retirement fight for Anderson Silva after he fights Jake Paul, maybe even has a grappling match with Nathan Diaz. But what do y'all think about today's MMA news? We got Khamzat Chimaev moving to the middleweight division, most likely to fight Paulo Costa. If he wins that one, probably going to get the winner of UFC 281, Adesanya versus Pereira, or maybe if Pereira wins, he might get Adesanya either way. And then we got one of the greatest middleweights of all time, either number one or number two. Obviously number one in terms of accomplishments, but number two in terms of skill. Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko. Never would have thought I put those two guys together for a retirement fight. I mean, come on, that is absolutely insane. Make sure y'all like the video, make sure you subscribe, and comment anything and everything down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.